I was doing some research on Puritan worship ahead of this Sunday because I had like a half-baked idea of trying to do like a proper recreation of a New England Puritan service, like either this Sunday or like perhaps for the America 250 celebrations in the coming year. But one of the issues with doing a historically accurate Puritan worship service is that they were very long. The opening prayer was about 15 minutes long. Then there was a reading and explanation of a chapter of scripture for about an hour as well, and that was not the sermon. That was just reading a chapter of scripture and then just explaining like what all the words meant and everything. Then you'd sing a psalm, then there'd be a sermon, which was about an hour. Then you sang another psalm, and then there was the pastoral prayer, what's sometimes called the long prayer. And the long prayer could be an hour or more, and then came the blessing. So the service was about 3 to 4 hours. Then you'd break for lunch, and then there'd be another service in the afternoon. And the only difference between the morning and afternoon service, besides reading different texts and hearing a different sermon, would be the afternoon service would be when you would have communion or a baptism if there was a sacrament being celebrated that day. So 6 to 8 hours of worship every Sunday was the norm. I decided for this Sunday that wasn't quite practical. I didn't start planning early enough for that. So the book I was reading noted that many people viewed the length of the minister's prayers as a sort of metric of his holiness. So there are records of that long prayer after the sermon going on for much longer than an hour if the minister was really in a groove or had something to prove. And it notes that ordination services, which involve the participation of multiple ministers, could develop into spiritual marathons to the exhaustion of the congregation. So this sort of attitude, incidentally, is why when I ever plan a service with a lot of clergy in it, I typically script absolutely everything for them that isn't the sermon, because while clergy now don't try to out-holy each other through extremely long prayers precisely the way Puritan ministers did, for many of us ministers, there's still a view that the longer we talk, the holier we are, or at least the holier we seem. And of course, clergy aren't the only Christians who sometimes use their worship or spiritual practices to try to seem holier or better than other people. But using our worship to show off our holiness and our righteousness to others is part of the problem the Pharisee had. Our worship is to be meant for the glory of God rather than the glory of ourselves.